We're here today with Dr. Tom Ellett, Senior Associate Vice President of Student Affairs at New York University. You've just taken part as a keynote speaker at a seminar arranged by Akademiska Hus on how to accommodate and provide housing for university students and research scientists. In your experience, what are the most important things to consider when accommodating and providing housing for new students at a university?
For us, it's really about the introduction to our students, setting expectations. What are they going to receive when they get to the campus housing? So talking about our domestic students being a part of a global institution, and then for our international students, how different it is to live in a city like New York City, which our campus is very much in and among New York City. Most of the campuses in the United States are very much enclaves with gates around them, and there's a feel that you're in this little city of the campus. So really the important thing is the communication, setting expectations, and then what are the services for students? How are they going to be part of a community? So we look at both community aspects and then programmatic aspects. And the difference really is the community is, how will I socialize? How will I find people that I can connect with and feel comfortable in the community? And the programmatic aspects are very much about what are the things that we can do within the structure of the institution, but also utilizing the city, in our case, New York City, Manhattan.
Well, what do you do with the housing itself for the students? What types of adjustments do you do there?
Sure. So in the housing, we have created what we call geographical diversity for our students in their first year of arrival. So we don't allow first year students to choose who they would live with. We assign students based on where they come from, where their home is. So we will have, we have 21% international students as first year students. And when you look at the number of rooms, we've been able to do it where 98% of the first year student rooms have at least one international student living in the room. So what we've done is we've normalized for our domestic students that you are going to live with a person you don't know, someone from another country, another part of the United States. So in American higher education, and certainly at NYU, supporting the academics for people in student affairs is really the most important thing we can do. There are some institutions that will look at student affairs as the driver. We don't. We believe students come to NYU to get a top-rate education. And for us is to support. How do we support? We give comfortable, safe accommodations. We have amenities in the residence accommodations that will support the academics. So Wi-Fi is throughout the system. We make sure we have study spaces that allow students to get in small groups. We have, in some of our facilities, black box theaters so students can practice. We have computer clusters and printing free of charge within the residence hall. So things that will make you not only be successful as a student from the amenity standpoint, but then we talk about the programmatic piece. So we have 90 faculty that live and work within our residence community. So we have 30 faculty in residence, and we have 50 faculty affiliates. And those affiliates don't live on the floors in the communities. They actually take students and do those excursions that I talked about within New York City. The next program is, in terms of supporting academics, is writers in residence. Those are expository writing 101 faculty members, and they go into the residence hall and help students prepare for their progression of writing assignments. And we see that the international students are those that are probably most served and benefited from that. We provide the academic resources in the residence hall so that the students aren't having to leave there, but faculty come in and start to create an intellectual environment where that mixture of life and academics is occurring. It's a very different model than many other places, but we think it works for our institution, which in New York City, you can be anonymous and you can disappear. And we don't want that to happen. We want to get in the way of our students.
During this seminar, we discussed how Akademiska Hus works with developing a campus for the whole student in cooperation with the universities, the city of Stockholm or Solna or contractors and other real estate companies. How do you work with the City of New York and these types of organizations to further develop campus and housing for students and researchers?
So we spend a lot of time with our local providers as it relates to, as I mentioned earlier, cultural things, civic engagement. In the United States, one of the activities that students spend a great deal of time on is philanthropic activities, or we call community service, whether it be working with youth, underprivileged youth, high school student programs, cleaning Central Park. And so the students really buy into that culture of giving back. So we partner with those nonprofit organizations and even for the profit organizations. Our cultural, Broadway is always giving us discounted tickets for our students to become members of the arts community, the opera, so forth. So I think we do a really very good job of utilizing the resources of New York City for-profit and the nonprofit areas. And a lot of that is also connected to the coursework that students are taking. So those who are theater majors are very interested in those aspects of it, or those in the sciences, working with the healthcare providers, really enhance their experience. In the States, it's very much about what you create on your vita, the experiences. And so our students are pretty driven coming to New York to take advantage of all of those things, whether it be a part-time job in the financial sector, and the world's financial companies are all there within, a subway stop or two away from us.
How do you involve students, faculty, and staff in developing campus and housing?
The whole idea of creating traditions is a big part of the American higher education world. In most institutions, it's through athletics, whether it be what we call football, different than your football, Saturday afternoons. Athletics has really been a driver for institutional spirit.
But how do you involve students or faculty and staff as well in the decision making of, well, we need a new building here, or we need new classrooms? Do you involve them in those types of decision in any way?
Yeah. So we use what we call the Faculty Senate. That is the decision-making body for the institution. It's comprised mainly of faculty, tenured faculty. Now we've included contract faculty. Students are on the Senate as well, and they make recommendations to the president, who makes recommendations to the Board of Trustees. That collaborative kind of conversation about the academic trajectory, looking at our global system, really, and looking at how we build buildings, where we build buildings, is part of the democratic process of what should be in a particular building. What are our needs? Where do we fall short? Where are opportunities?
You've only seen a few things here in Sweden and in Stockholm during your visit, but is there anything that you heard during the seminar that you've seen today that you want to bring home to see what you can do similarly or learn from?
Yeah. Well, I think your campus, the campuses that I saw, really beautiful in terms of the quality and also the landscape, that your architecture is very similar, at least in the campus that I saw. And I think that there's a real nice flow to them. You've been really intentional about your walkways and how students will run into each other, in creating nice space within your foyer areas for students can engage. And in terms of the amenities, I didn't get a chance to see as much of the student accommodations world, but less of greenery here than I saw, at least in your urban center. But the community experience and the shared kitchen facilities and the architecture building makes great sense. It allows for that small camaraderie among your students. We don't have that. That would be something that I would certainly advocate in our academic areas as a way for students to find a different kind of home. We have that home in the student accommodations. You don't have a lot of student accommodations, so you're creating a home within the academic center itself. Makes great sense.
Akademiska Hus is starting to produce themselves and assist in producing a lot more student housing as a new objective that they have. What would your recommendations be for Akademiska Hus starting to do this right now? What do you think they should do?
Well, I think the first thing, if I were to come here, I would say is, what's the data? Who are you trying to serve as it relates to who will be living in those facilities? Are you targeting more domestic Swedish students to live there? Are you looking at researchers and scholars? Are you looking at international students? And if so, are they older international students, or are they first-year international students? It really makes a huge difference in terms of the physicality and in terms of the type of accommodations that you build. Apartment style, suite style, traditional quarter style, each has its own place in the scheme of an institution and what you're trying to create. I would strongly suggest that amenities be thought through in terms of little things, big things like Wi-Fi, common space. Are there places for study? Is it going to be a shared kitchen, no kitchen at all? Will you have a dining complex connected with the facility or not? That adds another level of community connections rather than the disparate and separate kitchen facilities itself. Graduate students, my experience has been international graduate students want single accommodations, not so much shared space.
What types of benefits have you seen for having really good student accommodations?
Well, a couple of things. One is the connection to the institution, students finding friends, students doing better in grade point average. That's been proven in the States over and over again, even in my own dissertation. And finally, it's the retention to graduation. So students who live on campus housing, student accommodations, are much more likely to graduate from that institution than those who live off campus and commute. That's been a huge factor and a drive for colleges and universities building in the United States. And you have seen now community college, with our two-year colleges in America, now they are building campus residence because they know the impact it will make on students being a part of the campus, participating in events because they're not commuting, and thriving academically. So there's a huge difference. So in terms of advice that I would give, I would say that for Sweden to look at this issue, to track your data, which you're going to, in terms of who lives on and who doesn't, to see if this is similar. And every study that's done in the United States, clearly that is a major driver for us.